Welcome back. Thanks for coming to our show. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose or replace your medical plan. Check with your doc before implementing any of the things we're going to talk about. I just like to dive in and answer a lot of questions today. So, Steve, over to you.
All right. Welcome, world. And thank you all for the great questions you always submit. And we got some for you, which will be coming up shortly. In the meantime, let's go to Zoe Anna from Rumble. When I wake up at mornings, I have to constantly clear my throat. What is this? If it is phlegm, does it come from the sinuses or the gut? Thank you.
Just a second. No, that could actually come from your lungs. It could come from the postnasal drip. Or it can even be a problem with the muscles in your throat that are tightening up. Sometimes, especially if it's a laryngeal spasm, it's a calcium deficiency. But for you, I think it's going to be either coming from the lungs or coming through the sinuses. One way to thin the mucus is to take something called NAC as you try to figure out the root cause of it. Is it seasonal allergy, something out there? Is it mold in the air, which could be? Is there something, do you have something, clogged sinuses? So it's really just a matter of kind of narrowing down what it is. I would watch my videos on sinus and also lungs, because I give you a lot of different tips on what you could do naturally.
Okay, drberg.com, of course. Vincent from Rumble. Is there a relationship between urgent urination and symptoms of prolapse?
I don't know, but it sounds like it could be. That could definitely create urgency, because when you have a prolapse, the structures in the pelvis kind of just fell apart, and that can put pressure on the bladder and then decrease the capacity for urination, making you have to go frequently. So I've done videos on this, talked about it briefly. There's certain Kegel exercises that you can do, but for some people it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to do actually squats to strengthen the pelvic floor, but I would highly recommend you do it very, very gradually. Don't just go there and start lifting heavy weights, because that can actually cause more problems. So you want to slowly start building that up and building up the pelvis. What makes that very weak is a lot of sitting. People sit pretty much all day long, so you're going to have to reverse that by doing a lot of exercise to the pelvis.
All right, slow and steady, Vincent. Let us know how you're doing. Brandy from YouTube. I know you often recommend adding liver to our diet, but yuck. Thank you. I agree with you, Brandy. I just can't. What about adding liverwurst or liver pudding instead?
Absolutely, or pate, or even cod liver. It's actually very different. As much as I talk about liver being the best food, I can't eat it. I just don't like it. I just can't get it down. So I'll do those other things, like you said, and I think that's a great solution.
I didn't know you didn't like liver. Joanne from Rumble. Yeah, that's incredible. You're chowing down on heart and stuff, so who knew? Joanne from Rumble. I know you've answered this question a million times, but what is the best form of potassium to take daily and why?
Now we're going to go to 1,000,001 times. There's different types of potassium. Potassium citrate is a really good one. The only negative study out there was using potassium chloride, but it was just like a very oddball thing where after that, it's like, oh yeah, we need to start reducing potassium on our supplements. In fact, if you try to buy a potassium supplement, it comes in 99 milligram tablets. Now, think about that for a second. If we need 4,700 milligrams, how many times does 99 milligrams, or let's just say 100 milligrams, go into 4,900, Steve, if you do the math?
Thinking? I don't know.
Okay. It's probably 100. So,
duh.
So basically, the problem is that no, it's not. I don't know. I have to do the math. I am terrible at math, Steve. So I'm not going to even tell anyone. But the point is that when you take potassium, you need to have a lot of it. Rarely does anyone get even half of the RDAs. We need potassium for this thing called the sodium-potassium pump that powers the muscle and the nervous system. One of the first symptoms to notice when you're deficient in potassium is fatigue. When you take more potassium, boy, your energy just goes straight up. But potassium is also good to soften the arteries, make the arteries more elastic. It brings down the pulse rate and the blood pressure especially.
All right. Very good. Let's go to Rosie from Facebook. I have a 16-month-old boy, you're busy, and a 6-year-old girl. Is there a way to naturally treat measles?
I think I can probably get into trouble if I can just, people are going to take this out of context, make a clip and a video and see Dr. Berg is, treating measles without a license. Yeah, I would just, what I would do is the suggestion is to strengthen your children's immune system. And there's a couple factors here. Breastfeeding is the number one best way to build up, the mother gives the immune system to the child. You can't get that from infant formula. So that's the most important thing. Also, it's very important not to quickly treat the child to suppress an infection. Let the child go through the infection. This is how they developed an acquired immune system. So if you never, we're so afraid of our kids getting sick, or having a moderate fever for a period of time. This is how you develop an immune system. The other thing is that they've done studies on this, and the more sterile your environment, the weaker your immune system will be. So you want to let the kids play in the dirt. You want them to get dirty. You want them to be exposed to microbes and consume foods that are not so sterilized. We pasteurize everything, we sterilize everything. So, we've gotten ultra sterilized, artificially clean, right? And then what's happened is you look at our immune system, autoimmune diseases are going straight up and vertical. People are developing allergies, more asthma. This has to do with the immune system. And the best thing to do is to give a wide range of food, fermented foods for the kids, let them play outside a lot. Actually, send them to a farm for a while. They'll build up an immune system real quick.
Yeah, well, I'm old enough to remember the polio vaccines and so on, but it was known as the rich person's disease because all the kids that rolled in the dirt had a better immunity, and the Roosevelts and so on ended up with polio. So to your point, Abraham from Rumble, would a tablespoon of potassium citrate, speak of the devil, in water with meals be okay, or would it negatively affect electrolytes? 7 to 10 cups of salad upsets my stomach. I do pink salt quite a bit with my 2 meals. There's the end of it.
No, that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine, because the one thing with potassium, it's not like iron where your body holds on to it. If you take more potassium than you need, the body will get rid of it through the urine, unless you have stage 5 kidney disease. So, but that's so rare. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, that's good news. Let's go to quiz question number 1 for the day.
Okay, true or false? Hashimoto's is a true hypothyroid disease.
All right, audience, climb on that, please. And let's see. Carly 408 from Rumble. Could I replace insulin in the SIBO? Did I read that right? Oh, inulin, excuse me, in the SIBO yogurt with organic colostrum to supercharge the yogurt? If so, any brand you recommend you'd offer?
I don't have a brand, but inulin is the fiber that I can use to feed the microbes to grow. So yeah, we have a recipe on that. You should watch it on the website. But if you give too much fiber, it seems to come out clumpy. So I just do a little bit, and I have the recipe right on the video on the website as well. You can check it out. You can even download the recipe. But a lot of people are making the L-reuteri yogurt and getting massive wins, and the reason why they're winning on this is because there's so much underappreciation for a condition called small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So many people have it. They don't even know they have it. They're bloated all the time. And it's because they have too much of the wrong bacteria in the small intestine, not the large.
Wow, we're a mess. Dr. Berg, we haven't talked about your app in a while. Is that going? Is that a thing? How do we use that?
It's a free app. You can download it. It's called Dr. Berg's Junk Food Meter. And you just basically scan it on the barcode of any food, any packaged food or whatever, and it'll visually show you how much sugar, starch, which is sugar, and seed oil in that product. It's really a good exercise, especially when you go into someone's house. And the next time someone invites you to their house for a party, just pull out my app, go in the refrigerator and pantry, and just start scanning things. And you'll be the life of the party. You'll be the life of the party, but just don't mention my name as you walk out, as they kick you out.
Gladys, how could you, as you scan her tomatoes or whatever? All right. Anyway, that's a cool app. Quiz question number 1 is already answered. I know that's hard to believe. And it asked of the audience, true, false, Hashimoto's is a true hypothyroid disease. 68% of our respondents say that that's false. 32% are in support that it's true. Who's right?
Now, I could have phrased the question a little bit better. But Hashimoto's is not really a thyroid problem, okay? It's an immune problem. Because if you treat it like a thyroid problem, a hypothyroid problem, you will not get better. The way they treat just regular hypothyroidism is with thyroid medication, usually Synthroid, T4. But with the Hashimoto's, you're dealing with antibodies to your own thyroid, creating inflammation. And so you could take all the Synthroid you want and not see any change because it's a completely different problem. It's an immune problem. Some really good things you can do to help lower those antibodies is to avoid any and all gluten. But I'm not telling you to eat gluten-free cookies or bread because that's just as worse because that's all the starches. do the healthy version of a ketogenic diet. The other thing that is really important is selenium. Selenium actually can decrease the antibodies for Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's super common. Literally, 1 out of 10 people have antibodies towards their own thyroid. Now, the great majority of those don't feel any symptoms, like probably 4 to 5% do. But the point is that it's really common. It's the number 1 cause of number 1 autoimmune problem, Hashimoto's. And I'm going to release a video on it soon because there's a lot of mistakes that people make and they treat the wrong problem and they don't get results. The solution is not just to add more iodine. You want to add selenium. So there's more to this topic. So stay tuned for that video.
All right, very good. And let's see, I'm going to ask Abid to make himself present on camera. And while you're doing that, Abid, let's go to Rosie from Facebook. Is there something my sister can do to get off kidney dialysis?
I don't know, but there's some tips that I would recommend. And because they don't, I had this patient come to my office. Now I'm a chiropractor, but he came for nutritional help. Okay. He comes in my office. He's on kidney dialysis. It's snowing. The roads are blocked. Like he flew in, he can't get to a dialysis place unless he goes to the emergency room. But he literally walked to my clinic from the hotel a mile away and shows to my office. And I started to consult him on what to eat and things like that. So Whole Foods is right next to my office at the time, so he went there. I just told him to eat, really healthy foods, which is low carb. I did certain vegetables and things like that, and he stayed for a week. Goes back to the doc and says, "What did you do? Like, we don't need to do dialysis." Now, I do not know what happened to him, but the point was that it created by the change in his diet, eating healthy foods, there was a dramatic improvement. Now, when you have stage 5, you have to be monitored by the doc as far as phosphorus and potassium and certain other nutrients. You have to make sure you eat low amounts of certain things because the kidney's damaged. But that being said, the quality of food matters, and so I would definitely go lower carb and get on something that could work with your doctor on.
That's great. Well, that's encouraging. All right, Abid, thanks for coming front and center. And go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning. This is Abhis Siddiqui from Arkansas. Basically, I was going to ask, I had two questions, probably three questions. So, first of all, I've been pre-diabetic for quite some time, for, maybe 10 years. And secondly, I have some, stiffness in my right knee. Uh, as doctor suggested, it may be a stage 1, but it has not growing because I've been doing some exercises on and off. And the third thing is I feel depressed most of the time, and I lost interest in most of the activities, including my job. So most of the time, seems very depressed and seems like nothing in the future or gonna happen to me or something, very hopeless. So
Mm,
these are the conditions that I see all the time, So these are the things
okay.
that I'm 53. So
Okay.
yeah.
Let me give you some suggestions on that. The good news is that you can probably kill 3 birds with 1 stone on that because all of these relate to going on a low carb diet with intermittent fasting. I would immediately only consume 1 meal a day, probably your dinner, and then fast for 23 hours. That alone will bring up your mood. Even fasting for a couple days, your mood will come straight up. There was a gentleman who was literally so depressed he was ready to commit suicide, and he wanted to do it by locking himself in his room and starving himself. By the 3rd day, he was so happy and so joyful that he didn't realize the fasting helped his blood sugars. Blood sugar issues affect the brain. Out of all of the heavy levers for reversing diabetes, I'm not saying putting in remission, I'm saying reversing it. Low carb diet is at the top of the list. You can remove 40% of your fat from your liver within 14 days by going a low carb diet. There's nothing else that will come close as far as the speed at reversing metabolic disease, not vegetables, not fruit, not grains, not even exercise. So the low carb is the most important. And then, of course, with that, intermittent fasting. And also, it'll just drop inflammation on your knee. So, and then add a lot more exercise because staying in motion, getting outside, being exposed to the sun, taking more vitamin D3. You should be taking probably 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every single day for your mood and also being out in the sun. These are things I think in a relatively short period of time will pull you out of what you're stuck in right now.
All right, Abid. Well, thank you so much for that question, and our hearts are all with you. That's a terrible plague that many people suffer from. So good luck with that, and look for you to have a more cheerful day. Let's find out, in addition to our friend Abid, who is listening to the show. So we'd like to say a good day to all our viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Kuala Lumpur, Finland, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Kuwait, Venezuela, Jamaica, Germany, Malaysia, Ethiopia, American Samoa, Indonesia, Italy, Panama, Belgium, Japan, Israel, Slovakia, Eritrea, Curacao, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the Philippines, Turkey, Greece, Poland, Nepal, Spain, Rwanda, India, Jordan, Malta, Austria, Chile, Trinidad and Tobago, the Netherlands, Iran, Australia, Armenia, Romania, Singapore, Moldova, New Zealand, New Zealand, and all across these United States. So thanks so much, everybody, for making the show so fun and interesting with your comments and participation. Donna from Rumble, what is your take on using molasses to help with insulin resistance?
I wouldn't go in that direction. Yes, it does have potassium and has certain minerals, but there's just too much sugar in there. If we take a look at insulin resistance, we're dealing with a blockage of the receptor for insulin. What triggers insulin is carbs and sugar. So we want to go in the opposite direction and go low sugar, low carb. There's some interesting little additional cool things that I talked about recently, taking a product called TUDCA, which is a unique bile salt that has a very unique benefit to the cells. I don't have my cell here, but it actually helps part of the cell that makes hormones. It's called the endoplasmic reticulum. Not that you could care about less about that, but it actually will help that because the problem with insulin resistance is the massive hormone output of insulin. Too much hormone, body's blocking it, and so there's going to be a problem in your cells. So you take the TUDCA, it takes the stress off. It can actually help reverse insulin resistance as you go on low carb. The liver is the organ that's the most sensitive to insulin resistance. I think that's kind of my theory, is it's where it starts, in the liver. So as soon as you start going low carb and bring it way down, the liver starts to heal the insulin resistance. It starts to be able to not produce this added sugar, because your liver makes sugar even in a diabetic state. So this is why a diabetic can actually go off sugar and they still have high sugar. It's coming from the liver. The liver's making it out of other stuff. And then that's because of the insulin resistance. So the point is that no. This is the long answer to your question, no.
Okay, no, it is. All right, let's see what the audience thinks of quiz question number 2.
Okay, out of all the primary benefits of cacao, now cacao is raw, uncooked, which is the same word, cocoa or chocolate or bean. It's like a cocoa bean. So that's what it is. Out of all the benefits of that, what's the number one research benefit? What's the real big benefit that's mostly researched when you take cacao?
All right, very good. I'm going to practice saying that for the next week. Joni from YouTube, what's more effective for promoting health in cancer patients, sprouts or microgreens? I don't know if that's a touchy question, but there you have it.
It's the same thing, really. Microgreens are kind of sprouts. They're, I mean, it might be the difference between a few days, but it's a baby plant. The interesting thing about the cancer research from Johns Hopkins is sulforaphane and broccoli sprouts. There's some new research that I stumbled on that shows that there's 2 different types of sulforaphane. And the one that is actually more powerful actually comes from radish sprouts. So wouldn't hurt to maybe every so often throw some radish sprouts on your salad, or even grow them yourself. When you're consuming these powerful phytonutrients from plants or herbs, I wouldn't always just take them every single day. Kind of take them a few times a week, because they do add it's called a hormetic stress. And sometimes what we really want to do is we just want to match our lifestyle, our modern lifestyle, of what our biology was developed from long ago. So just think Stone Age time. And then we didn't have a consistent anything. Everything was kind of rotated. So same thing with exercise, same thing with eating, intermittent, everything. That would be really smart.
All right, very good. Let's go to Brenda from Facebook. What are the primary steps for fixing, I think I heard you say this a minute ago, a fatty liver?
Well, it's very easy. And the good thing is you can remove fat from the liver. I mean, in 14 days, like 40% of it within low carb. I mean, that's like mind blowing. What drug can you reduce fatty liver? You know, I hope, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm pleading with whoever is on the dietary food guidelines that are going to be releasing it, please add low carb as one, at least as an option for people with metabolic diseases, because the problem is most of that dietary recommendation, like 65% of it is carbohydrate. So they've been pushing carbohydrates for so long, And look at where it got us. It's just in trouble. So we need to have an option, because if we don't, then it's not going to be on the radar for people that are affected by the food pyramid, like the school system, military, assisted living home, the hospitals, nursing homes. So this is why low carb needs to be in there, at least for certain populations.
Wow, there is a YouTube video that features a surgeon that shows cadavers, and I saw that visceral fat, I guess you call it, and it's gruesome. If you saw a picture of how it wraps around your organs, you'd be horrified. I mean, they're imprisoned by it. I thought it was some subtle thing.
So let me ask you this, Steve. So is the liver supposed to have fat in it?
I don't believe so. And
No.
it looks hideous.
How does the fat end up in there? Like, why is it going in there and not your other fat cells? What's happening is the fat cells are so sick, they have insulin resistance. And so this is a spill off into your liver. And not even in the fat cells in the liver, but it's called ectopic, outside your fat cells, stuck in your liver. This is not good. And that interrupts your function of the liver. But not only that, it goes lower around the organs and the belly and all the other organs, in the pancreas. So this is the result of excess refined sugars and refined starches. Okay, that's where it's really coming from. It's not coming from eating fat. This is why it's important to go on low carb.
All right, very good. Look that up, audience. It's gruesome. Eric from Facebook, what are the advantages of applying a magnesium oil to arthritic joints? Does mixing it with castor oil help absorption? Do castor oil packs work?
Yeah, they do. There's some great research on that. You should try it. And these are all topical things. Great idea. Magnesium oil. There's debates on whether it gets absorbed or this or that, but I people that swear by it, so it's worth a chance to try it out. But also take it orally too. Take more magnesium inside, especially if you have any muscle spasms or tight muscles. You should take that, or Charlie horses, or leg cramps for sure. And it's not going to go away right away, but it takes time to build up. But so you have the magnesium there, and then realize that inflammation in general, very important to do 2 meals a day or even 1 meal a day to get rid of inflammation. But chronically eating and snacking is just going to keep you inflamed. And of course, we won't even get into the seed oils. So that's even worse. So.
All right. Well, we have another nice friend who is named Ayal, and he's originally from Israel, but finding home in South Africa now. And he has a question for you, Dr. Berg. Go ahead, Ayal.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on the show. A few years back, I started to, when I lie down in bed to sleep, belch and flatulent, and then arrhythmia every once in a while. Fast forward 2 years, 3 years later, I listened to the video. I started to take betaine hydrochloride, and it helped me reduce the belching by 60 or 70%. Then the arrhythmia stayed with me the whole night, and then it stopped. And then for a 10-day period, I done all the tests related to the heart twice. Everything came out great. The doctor said you probably have acid. He gave me this Omurpadex. I took it for 2 days, felt awful. I dropped it. I changed my environment. I felt better. I was less stress. And I did gastroscopy. In gastroscopies, they found single linear ulcers approximately 8 millimeters present above the cardia, and the bulb showed erosive changes on the inferior wall. That was the two only off things, and the H. pylori was negative. I stopped taking the betaine because I watched another video of yours saying when you have an ulcer, don't take it. Now in the last week, the arrhythmia came back, arrhythmia came back, and I have this thinking in my stomach percolating feeling all the time, and especially when I lie down in bed. But I started to take the potassium because I was definitely deficient potassium, and the situation is now I still feel that, and I don't know what to do with the betaine. I don't know what to do in general. That's the question. So
Okay.
long, but
okay. So Very, very important to realize that you don't want to add that betaine if you have an ulcer or lesions or erosions of your stomach, because it's going to aggravate it, even though that probably would have helped you maybe before you got that. The antidote to the ulcers would be zinc carnosine. It's a great healer for the ulcers. It has a lot of research, and I have videos on that. So zinc carnosine. And then you're going to have to really change your diet, because I don't know what you're eating. I can't get into it, but I would definitely start changing your diet. And probably the only vegetable that I would recommend would be cabbage, because that has unique properties. It has vitamin U, which happens to be some older data on why it's good for ulcers. So that's that. And then also intermittent fasting, so you can heal. So probably one meal a day, so you can heal the stomach. And the acid reflux that you had was probably not an acid reflux. It was a valve problem. The valve is not closing, so the acid is going to come up. And of course, betaine. The reason why the betaine hydrochloride helped you is because it helps acidify the stomach so the valve closes, because we need a strong acid stomach. Unfortunately, the doctors never talk about that. But I would suggest to heal the ulcer, then eat healthy. Then after that, once the ulcer is healed, then you can reacidify the stomach. Betaine hydrochloride is the best remedy for that, so you can resolve things. Now, you could be the problem is you probably don't have, believe it or not, enough acid to absorb the minerals like magnesium and potassium. This is probably why you need more of those. So I would definitely beef up your potassium, your magnesium, so you can help your arrhythmias. But there is also a connection. You mentioned the burping and stuff. There's definitely a gallbladder heart connection where it can create arrhythmias just from the gallbladder congested. So TUDCA might be a good remedy for you, just to kind of thin the bile and make sure that there's no gallbladder connection to your arrhythmias. But that's really what you have to do right now, because we can't just jump right into the betaine hydrochloride because you have an ulcer. So good thing you had it checked, but that's what you need to do.
All right, Ariel, thank you so much for a great call. And Ariel, you and the rest of the audience will now be privy to our quiz question number 3. And there it is, Doc.
What happens when you try to stimulate or boost a slow metabolism to lose weight?
I can't wait to hear the answer. All right, let's see. Let's move on. Gene from YouTube, here's a little lengthy one. I had heart surgery in 2017 to address calcification of parts that were cut open from an earlier open heart surgery. That's interesting. Despite 7 hours on the operating table, I was told later that the calcification could return in a few years. I'm 46, on a healthy keto for the last 2 months. Good for you. Exercising often. What else can Gene do to slow or reverse this calcification?
The calcification comes in there because, Steve, this happens every single week. Someone's asking a question that's related to the next question, but that's fine. I'm just going to answer it and we're just going to go with it, okay? But I don't know if you're feeding these questions out to people behind my back or not, but anyway. So the calcification is a byproduct of inflammation inside your arteries. So calcification, cholesterol, plaquing is down chain. It's not up chain. It's not root cause. It's a Band-Aid because there's inflammation on the inside of the artery. So they say, oh, the calcium's going to come back. Well, that's because you have to fix the endothelial layer of your cells. You have to fix that because once that's broken, then you have to have this Band-Aid come in. There's several things that actually help reverse that plaquing cycle. One is vitamin K2. Number 2 is vitamin D3. Increasing your HDL. How? Niacin. Powerful. Going on low carb is going to help you considerably. And then also getting sun, because the sun will increase nitric oxide, which the inside of the artery needs to help heal it. So these are all things that I would do. But probably out of all of those, the most important regulator of calcium, superior, like the master controller, is magnesium. So having enough magnesium, I think, can actually prevent you from having a comeback. And it's a great way also to prevent other calcium from going in the soft tissue, especially the kidneys, as kidney stones. So don't forget the magnesium glycinate for that.
Okay, audience, I owe you a little apology. You dutifully answered number 2, and I never announced it on the air. And the question was, out of all the biggest benefits of cacao, what is the number research benefit? And you guys, 60% of you, say it's improved blood flow. 20% say it's reduced risk of cardio disease.
Wait. What question is this?
Number 2. So I went ahead and had you ask number 3, but it turns out that I never answered number 2. So I apologize.
So can you remind me what number 2 was?
Yes, it was. Out of all the biggest benefits of cacao, what is the number? Did I say that right? Cocoa, but it's
cacao. Okay.
Good
cacao.
grief! No wonder. Yeah, cacao. Good grief.
Cacao. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay,
That's
cacao.
Like,
so I got thrown everyone off. What's the number one research benefit? And the audience, who can probably pronounce it, 60% say it's improved blood flow, 20% say it's reduced risk of cardio disease, 10% say it's boosting mitochondria, and the final 10% say it's lowering cholesterol levels for cacao.
So everyone is pretty close. But it's the biggest benefit is that endothelial layer on the inside of the arteries. It's improvement of your arteries from many different things. They've put a group of people between the ages of 50 and 80 on daily cacao, which is a powder in some water, had to drink it for 14 days. Their arteries, there's certain biomarkers that can measure like the age of the arteries with flexibility and blood flow. The age of those arteries went down to someone of 20 and 30-year-old. So that's incredible. So it also decreases stiffness. It can actually help, like I said, increase nitric oxide, which is going to lower your blood pressure. But here's the thing. When you take cacao and you put it in your coffee, the caffeine can create a opposing effect, because cacao creates a vasodilation from the nitric oxide. So then the caffeine creates a constriction. So what you want to do is you want to drink this chocolate milk with the raw cacao. It's unsweetened, in some water, or even some raw milk. We've done it in raw milk. Or you can do other things too, like coconut milk, and you mix it up, blend it in there, and you drink that 2 hours after your coffee in the morning. It is dynamite for anything related to your vascular system. Really, really good to help lower your risk of getting plaquing. There's just so many amazing things. It's polyphenols in the chocolate, but I'm not talking about Nestle's chocolate, milk. I'm talking about a raw, unsweetened cacao powder, and that's raw. So once it gets heated, it's called cocoa. So what I did yesterday is I added beet juice powder to that cacao, added a really nice flavor with a couple drops of stevia in some raw milk, mix it up, blend it up, and I was like, okay, this is my favorite new drink. It's 2 hours after I had my coffee, and I felt pretty darn good after that. So it's something just to put on your radar if you wanted to boost up your heart and your vascular system, if that's somewhat important to you.
Boy, I think we're all intrigued. Is that something you get online, or can you go to the local grocery store and get it?
You can just get it online. Yeah, cacao. Just look it up.
All right, very good. And audience, we're going to get back in sync here. And so let me remind you what number 3 said, and it's what happens when you try to stimulate a slow metabolism to lose weight. So that's your current question, and we're all caught up. Let's go back to social media, and let's go to Chatura from Facebook. What are the causes and solutions if one has foamy urine?
So that's usually protein in the urine, possibly. Now, it could be you're consuming too much protein, or it could be kidney damage. I don't know. Like, it really depends on what you're eating, right? If you're eating a bunch of junk food, then I would like, oh, that's not good, because it can mess with your kidney. And protein in the urine is one of the bad things to show up and indicates kidney damage. But I'm not saying you have that. There is a home test that can be done to look at protein in the kidney, or no, just protein in the urine. And I should probably do another video on that. But yeah, foamy, depending on how much foaminess, right? But the main thing is it just a little bit of foamy, or is it majorly foamy and kind of darker? Then that you should get that checked out.
All right, gentlemen, yeah, I'm guessing tripathy or tripathy from YouTube. What's the best solution for Peyronie's disease in young males?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, well, that's a
comment.
tough way to get started. But anyway, good luck with that. Tripathy or tripathy. And let's move on to another question. Gomataka Beer from YouTube is the person's handle. I had 2 surgeries this year for appendicitis and gallbladder removal. Am I at risk for complications? My doctor said I can still eat anything, virtually anything. Doc, what do you say?
It's kind of like when you have cancer and you say, what should I eat? Oh, it doesn't matter. Eat whatever. Eat anything you want. No, don't eat anything you want. Like, you're asking someone who has literally very little bit of knowledge or training in nutrition or food, so they can't really give you the best answer. You want to go to the doctors mainly for the drug and disease help, but not the food help. So yes, it does. I would go on the low carb, healthy version of the ketogenic diet, because yeah, there's going to be complications if you eat junk food. Well, just the fact that you had the gallbladder out and appendicitis tells me that your diet probably isn't the best in the world, because to have that being infected, you have to have some bad foods. So I would clean that up. And the most important thing too is to do intermittent fasting, because that way it gives the digestive chance to reset. The appendix is not an extra organ that we don't need. It has a reserve of microbes. So when you have diarrhea, you can then repopulate and reseed the colon. Now you don't have that. So you got to think about probiotics and fermented foods. Gallbladder, you no longer have the gallbladder. So now we lost the regulation of how much bile should be put in that small intestine. So now you're going to have to possibly take bile if you start noticing your deficiency with any fat soluble nutrients. So I've done videos on that. You can look up that, but it's definitely, I would highly recommend to put attention on the diet.
Wonderful. Okay. And the audience put attention on a question, which I stumbled on, and it asks, what happens when you try to stimulate a slow metabolism to lose weight? And 85% of respondents say you'll encounter a reverse effect and put on more weight quickly. And then 15% say it will create a plateau effect. That sounds sort of smart. What do you say?
So I think everyone has experience in that, right? But, a slow metabolism is really an efficient metabolism. So the person can go longer with less food. So your body's adapted to less food and you can go longer. Someone that's a high metabolism has a more inefficient system, that they can waste energy faster. They can lose weight faster because it's inefficient. So how is that created? Well, it's the dial that controls that. How much you gain or you lose is called insulin mechanism. So if you wanted to speed up your metabolism, what you want to do is you want to lower your insulin as low as possible and heal insulin resistance. That's the secret. And the way to do that is low carb and intermittent fasting. And for those people that even plateau on that, sometimes they have to go even more deeper intermittent fasting, longer, or even lower carbs, depending on how efficient your metabolism is. you might have to go a little bit more extreme. I met this gal in practice. She was consuming 500 calories a day, and she still couldn't lose weight. And so she kept, of course, they're all carbs, and she's like going more and more and more and more higher insulin, less. Her body's just adjusting, becoming very, very efficient. So she could literally go survive for a lot longer than anyone else on a very tiny amount of food, which is a great thing to happen if you were in the Stone Age times, but it's not good right now. So what you have to do is you just have to refocus on getting your system healthy, especially with hormones and insulin, to be able to repair that.
All right, very good. Well, I haven't eaten since 4 p.m. yesterday. For most of you, I want you to find encouragement in that. And I feel great, and I've lost 50 pounds. And due to Dr. Berg's public humiliation, I have been cleaning up my diet because I didn't always do perfectly during those 4 hours, but I'm getting better with that, and I just feel great. So all in all, I think you'll find great relief. Let's go to quiz question number 4, and there it is.
Okay. Over 2 billion people are infected with blank bacterial infection. So,
sorry.
what bacterial infection? This infection, not a virus, this bacterial infection has killed the more people than any disease, any bacteria or virus that ever was. What is this?
All right, audience, I can't wait. Shonda from Facebook. So if cacao, which I think I said it right, is good for us, how much should we consume daily? And doctor, I would add, is that got caffeine in it too? I'm not quite sure about that.
It does have a little caffeine, but it has a different stimulant. It's called the theobromine, I think it's called, or something like that. But it's it does have a little caffeine, has the stimulant, but not nearly as much as coffee, even though it's from the same family. But the thing is, though, it's just it has some fascinating. The more I look at it, I'm like, wow, the benefits are crazy. The problem is we add sugar to it and screw it up. So now, I was just explaining something? Did I not explain it all the way, Steve, or what?
No, I think so. I threw in the stimulant thing, and then you answered that. Oh, how much should she consume every day?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just read on the back. It says 1 scoop, and whatever that is, they'll have the scooper measurement in there, and I would just do 1 of those a day.
Very good. Can't wait. Okay, let's see. Joaquin from Facebook. What is the importance of nitric oxide as you age? What are the best sources to add to our diets?
Nitric oxide is your body makes it, and you can also get it from certain things. Cacao repairs the machine in your body that makes nitric oxide, and it also gives you some nitric oxide. Out of all the things that have nitric oxide, at the top of the list, we have arugula, beets, cacao, and then also the sun can help you get nitric oxide, especially the infrared. But what does it do? It's a protective thing. It protects you against inflammation. It's a vasodilator, preventing you from getting high blood pressure. Okay, so it helps circulation. It helps blood flow. So that's what it is.
All right, very good. Let's go to Sima from Facebook. Is leaky gut the same as celiac disease?
Well, leaky gut is just increased permeability of your colon, which could be caused, like celiac is coming from the gluten, and then you have this antibodies that develop, and then you have an autoimmune disease. So that's a little different, but the leaky gut is part of it. What happens, Steve, is that when you eat bad foods, or even eat foods that people think are healthy, whole grains that have gluten in it, it increases this single cell layer in your gut. It increases that. It creates a gap. and then food and bacteria can go in there. This is basically not going through normal immigration. And so you have a police department standing there and it doesn't get the stamp of approval. And then it gets tagged as a bad guy. And then that would be, now you have antibodies that are built up against that. Now, the problem with that is, okay, good, you have antibodies against gluten or something. All right, so then just avoid it, right? Well, a lot of these microbes, as well as food particles, proteins, like especially gluten, are very similar in molecule structure to certain tissues in our body. So, in other words, they can mimic things like the thyroid gland or the myelin around the nerves. And then now, because it tagged that, it also tags your thyroid as being foreign. So now you have antibodies against your thyroid. So now it's attacking your thyroid. Or you have antibodies attacked your myelin sheath developing MS. Now you have neurological stuff. That's how it develops, especially if you're predisposed genetically to that and then you have low vitamin D. So really you have to take more vitamin D, change your diet, change your environment, lower stress, all these to get yourself out of that. But that's really the cascade of things that turn those problems into actual diseases.
Okay, well, we had a really fascinating quiz question number 4, which asked over 2 billion people are infected with this what? Bacterial infection, and you pointed out it's very hazardous. And 85% of the respondents say it's H. pylori, 10% say it's sepsis, horrible, and 5% say it's SIBO. Any winners today?
No, we don't have any winners. It's actually TB, tuberculosis.
Wow.
Now, yeah, TB. But the bad news is that there's a lot of people that are infected with TB right now. The good news is 90% of them won't ever really have to worry about it because that TB is in a dormant state, and it's not going to bother you until your vitamin D goes down. So there's certain things that will activate that microbe, but TB is an ancient microbe that has been living and coexisting with us for a very long time, and somehow we made a deal, and it agreed to stop attacking most people, and we agreed to stop attacking it because it lives in our body. It exists like other microbes too. We probably made that arrangement, but it's really interesting because it doesn't evade or hide from your immune system. It actually goes into your immune system. It goes right into the phagocyte. That's the cell that eats up bacteria. So it allows it to be eaten, but it has counter enzymes to protect it. And then it builds a home into your immune system cells, phagocytes, and then it actually changes the metabolism of what that phagocyte eats, so it becomes more sluggish, and then it extends the life of that phagocyte. So it's like super smart, and so it just sits there and waits until your vitamin D goes low. If you take a look at what we did in the 1800s before antibiotics, and then the early 1900s, I think until 1932, people were going to sanatoriums, and these were like hotels built on the side of the mountain in Switzerland that you just get sun, because the vitamin D is one of the best things to put that virus back in remission and control it out of anything. It's significant. And they also gave them cod liver oil because of the vitamin D, but also the vitamin A can protect the lungs because TB is a lung issue. So this is all very interesting. And we did have a rise of TB go up in the 80s. I think it was because we become sun phobic. But it's not just the vitamin D. It's the UV. It's the infrared spectrum that we get from the sun that you can't get from an LED that also can help heal the mitochondria of the macrophage, the immune cell. So then now you could switch that metabolism back and actually put that thing right in the remission so it can't do anything, or actually maybe even kill it. So anyway, the TB is a fascinating microbe, and a lot of people have it, and you don't have to worry about it unless your immune system gets weak. So as long as you keep it strong, you have nothing to worry about, Steve.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, by the way, you basically covered this, but do you have any other comments on quiz question number 5?
Why were yeah, that's spelt wrong, I think. Sanitariums, and cod liver oil used for TB back in the 1800s. Well, I think I just told you that, but what's interesting, just to add one more point about that, is that at some point they added a glass between you and the sun, and then the results went down because you really restrict the UV light from, I'm not sure about the infrared, but I think the UV light you restrict greatly from glass. So you don't get a lot of vitamin D by getting sun through a window. You got to be out in the sun. And unfortunately, I talked about this last week, I think, the LED lights that you're exposed to in your house are terrible because they only give you the visible spectrum. They don't give you the infrared. It's protective. So you say, well, I'll just get some incandescent. Well, in 2028, they're going to enforce a rule to get rid of these incandescent lights for good because they're trying to phase them out, which is terrible. So you want to stock up on those now and have incandescent lights. They're not as bright. They're not as energy efficient, but they'll give you the infrared that you need. A solution to bypass all that is to be outside at least an hour a day, be exposed to the sun that will naturally give you infrared for free.
All right, very good. You were correct on sanitariums. You spelled it right, and we chose to spell it wrong for the audience, so we apologize for that. And,
I'm going to get on Terry because Terry is supposed to be good,
He is the grammarian. Yeah, and believe me, I'm not going to let him go on that. But anyway, let's see. Here we go. How about Sylvia from YouTube? What are your best suggestions for someone suffering from repetitive hyponatremia?
Hyponatremia? Well, that's you need more salt. Usually you get that by drinking too much water. Water intoxication because you dilute the sodium. So you need more sea salt to counter hyponatremia.
All right. Okay, very good. And Terry, by the way, fell on his sword, acknowledging the era. Beach Cal from YouTube. What's the best natural approach to treat hand tremors? That's awful.
Hans Cacao, right? That's his name? No. Tremors, you have there's different causes to it, and there's different treatments, and there's different protocols. Typically it's a problem with dopamine receptors in your brain and this and that. But I found that if you increase certain neurotransmitters by upping your B1, take a lot of natural B1 over a course of weeks, you can sometimes reduce those tremors. But it really also depends on the root cause of it as well. I should probably do a video on it that covers all the things, but it's one of those things that if it's really advanced, it's really hard to reverse any of it, but sometimes you can. So I'll do a video on it.
All right, let's try one more for the day. Rachel Lanoa from YouTube. What's your advice for to treat fibromyalgia?
So fibromyalgia is this soreness and pain throughout the body. The question, if it's on the right side of your body, I would work on the gallbladder. Watch my videos on that, because the gallbladder, if there's a sluggishness, and you might need some TUDCA, that will create referral pain that will just mimic fibromyalgia. If it's a true fibromyalgia, there's usually a microbe involved and there's usually stress involved. So the stress goes up, cortisol puts that microbe into out of remission, becomes active, and it starts creating inflammatory things. So let's say, for example, you had mono when you were a teenager, kissing disease, and then after that, it kind of went into a latent stage or a remission. And then you went through some type of major loss or stress later in life, and all of a sudden your whole body is sore because you just reactivated that microbe to the point where it's creating a lot of inflammation in the body. So the best thing to do is to do whatever you can to deal with the stress, exercise, sleep better, which is important, ashwagandha, to be able to put that microbe back in remission by strengthening your immune system, not by killing it off, because sometimes you can't. So you just have to keep it in remission. And the way to do that is to stay super healthy, sleep, exercise, and good foods. And I think on that note, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next week, same time, same place.
That makes me sad. I want to eat her cake before she does.